Welcome, everybody. Who would have thought this early we'd already need an emergency pod? But if there was ever a time to have an emergency podcast, now would be it. This is not a drill. The Rock, it would appear, is back. Unbelievable day one Monday Night Raw to start off 2024. And not that it didn't already appear that it would be this way, but all evidence is showing us that the first quarter of 2024 is going to be absolutely insane in the world of WWE. So it starts simply enough with rumors circulating during the week that a former WWE champion would be returning to Monday Night Raw at Day 1 Raw. Then Triple H tweets out, "I've heard these rumors that a champion is returning, and I can confirm that that's happening." Now, this would be a great example of information leaking to news sources done completely on purpose. We then get to Monday, and we're all speculating. Who is the former WWE champion that will be returning to Day 1 Raw tonight? And a photo pops up earlier in the day. And people start doing the math. The Rock is at game day. Now, the last time The Rock was doing game day with Pat McAfee, it was in Denver, Colorado. Actually, I think the Friday was the Pat McAfee show, and game day would have been on Saturday. I don't know, but whatever. The last time he was on ESPN talking college football, it was only a couple of hours away from where SmackDown was in Denver, and that's the night that we got the surprise Pat McAfee return, the surprise Rock return, laying the smack it down on Austin Theory. Well, some math was done, and a realization came in that The Rock was appearing on College Game Day only hours away from where Raw was taking place on Monday night in San Diego. Add to that the fact that a photo came out and it was innocent enough. It was The Rock talking to some person who's not involved in professional wrestling, so they don't belong on this podcast. And a caption on it, it was on somebody's TikTok, that just said, "Here's The Rock talking to so-and-so." But what we all saw with our educated eyeballs was looming in the background, Nick Khan. And we said, could it be? Is it happening? People already started fearing for Cody Rhodes' story in that moment. Because we get to Monday Night Raw, we get to Day 1. And the commentators say, when we get back from commercial break, the former WWE champion who's returning to Monday Night Raw will be here. And they get back from commercial break, and it's a wide shot. And Samantha gets on the microphone, and she says, "And now, the former WWE champion returning to Monday Night Raw." And the introductions, the pomp and circumstance, the repetition of that phrasing lended only to the fact that it was going to be a troll job of the century. And that's what we got. Jinder Mahal comes out, and the gasps of the people in attendance were all visible. Disappointment. And Jinder Mahal gets in the ring, and he comments on the disappointments, but he starts to talk about the division that exists within the United States of America. That these states are not united at all. That politically, culturally, nobody can get on the same page. And he cut this promo that I actually thought was pretty good. Like I said, and maybe it was controversial to some, but I thought if this is the direction we're going in with Jinder, I'm not going to hinder it. I kind of like what we've got going on with Jinder. But what he kept saying was, he said a couple of times, he went, "Finally, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da." And then he kept saying, "Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. You people can't, if you smell." Place comes unglued. The Rock is actually here once again, showing that forearm because he's got goosebumps. And he goes to the ring, and he and Jinder, they have a back and forth. They talk about the Day 1 douchebag. That's what The Rock calls Jinder Mahal. And then they get into some physicality. Jinder ends up laying in some shots on The Rock, gets him back into the corner, stomps to the midsection. The Rock's able to mount a comeback. put Jinder on his back, and end the spectacle with a people's elbow. And as Jinder exited stage left, The Rock grabbed a microphone. And this part was key. It would have been enough if we were just there being treated to another appearance by Rock the Dwayne Johnson. But instead, he grabs this microphone and he says, you know what, San Diego, before I go, I'm going to get something to eat. And I wondered, where's he going with this? I was hoping that we were going to get some kind of like pie reference, you know? He was going to go get himself a slice of pie. What kind of pie would that be? That's where I thought this was going. But he said, when I go out to get something to eat, I got to know where to sit. Am I going to sit in a booth? And I went, where's he going with this? Sit in a booth? Is he going to do like a SmackDown hotel thing? Where am I going to sit at the bar? And a couple of fans cheered. You know, it's fun to sit at the bar. When he said, am I going to sit at the booth? Am I going to sit at the bar? That's when I went, oh my God. Because I went booth, bar, table. Is he going to sit at the table? Oh my God. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now. I feel like I'm The Rock showing you all. I was like, he's going to say he's going to sit at the table. You know who sits at the table? The guy at the head of the table. And then The Rock does it. He grabs that microphone and he says, or am I going to sit at the head of the table? And bro, everybody lost their minds. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. People went nuts. Twitter went nuts. Memes started going crazy. That audience made the loudest sound of the night. And there was this feeling, right? There's two ways to talk about a potential dream match, because there aren't that many dream matches left, but a potential true dream match, right? One way is to talk about it hypothetically. We can get on this show and just go on and on about what could happen here. What if we did this? What if we did that? But when it's presented to you, when it comes to you as a reality, it takes on a whole new meaning. The feeling starts to become different when you're like, oh my God, The Rock is literally teasing Rock versus Roman. It's the match that we've been waiting for 3 years. The match that we've been waiting for since the bloodline began. Since there was talk of the familial ancestry that runs through Roman Reigns and the Usos and Solo Sikoa, Rikishi, Yokozuna. Since Roman Reigns declared himself the head of that table, The Rock's name has been in play. And we talked about this last year, whenever it was, I want to say October, when The Rock was on McAfee's show, and he was talking about the potential of wrestling at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns and why it didn't happen last year and why it could happen this year. And I told you then, it's not an accident that he's doing that. Whether that's WWE's plan or The Rock's plan, that remains to be seen. That's not to say the WWE put him up to it. The Rock may just realize it's time to do some business here. Let me look at my calendar. Yeah, that checks out. Because if you remember last year, when there were rumors about The Rock potentially headlining WrestleMania with Roman Reigns, they got out there and they said he can't get himself in shape. Rock said that's not true. But he who controls the narrative controls the truth. So now we're really here, and we're teasing The Rock and Roman Reigns. And in my mind, unless The Rock's got something pretty well cemented in, he is not going on WWE TV and teasing, taking his spot as the head of the table against Roman Reigns. The Rock heard that reaction. The WWE heard that reaction. We all heard that reaction. The Rock versus Roman Reigns is a reality that we are looking at, that we are actually going to see this in 2024. So the question is, when, how? Because we've got a lot on our plate as it is. I just did 2 weeks ago a podcast about Roman Reigns and everything that he's actually got in front of him all of a sudden. And The Rock wasn't even involved in that. So, what can you do with The Rock? The fact is that there are many out there that want Cody to finish the story, that want Cody Rhodes to go to WrestleMania, face Roman Reigns like he did last year, and finally beat him. I don't know if that's going to happen. I told you already, I don't think Roman's leaving WrestleMania without the world title. Regardless of who Roman's facing, I think there's a good chance that Roman leaves WrestleMania WWE champion still. As I'm looking at this, right, because there's really two options. We've already got the main event, the championship match for the Royal Rumble in place. On SmackDown, we're getting the triple threat match between LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton. The winner goes to the Royal Rumble to face Roman Reigns. That's already in play. So let's wipe out the Royal Rumble for the time being. And let's talk about the fact that we've got WrestleMania, but also in February, we've got the Elimination Chamber that is taking place from a stadium all the way out in Perth, Australia. WrestleMania is already near a sellout. WrestleMania is pretty full. Australia's selling tickets, but they're not selling the entire stadium full. So, of course, we bring up the question, is The Rock and Roman Reigns actually going to headline the Australia pay-per-view so we can fill up that stadium and so we can make the WWE look attractive to other countries? Becoming an even more global company is obviously a priority for the WWE. Putting on a show this big for Australia is not only going to have Australia wanting more shows, but it's going to have the UK wanting more shows. It's going to have everybody wanting more shows. And that's possible. But man, when you look at it, and we haven't seen this promo yet, but it looked like on Kathy Kelly's Instagram, I've been doing my detective work, okay? And on Kathy Kelly's Instagram, she posted a photo with a microphone talking to The Rock. Now, maybe she had just cut a promo with somebody else, and she was just catching up with The Rock. Or maybe they shot something with The Rock, because Rhea Ripley was in the photo too. Now, it could have just been three friends catching up, and Kathy Kelly was holding a microphone because part of her job description. But it also could have been that there was some kind of interaction filmed between The Rock and Rhea Ripley. Why would interaction be filmed between The Rock and Rhea Ripley? Rhea Ripley's Australian. We're going to Perth. Could it be? I'm putting the pieces together, but could it be? Maybe. Maybe. But man, as I looked at The Rock and as he spoke of the head of the table, and as I listened to the energy that audience had, and as I've paid attention to the conversation that it's established, is this really a match that you're not going to do at WrestleMania? Now look, we were having this exact same conversation last year, different context completely. But last year, Sami Zayn was the person that challenged Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. There were people, A, saying this should be the WrestleMania main event, B, saying Sami Zayn needs to win the title here, and C, saying Cody Rhodes is not going to be able to follow Roman versus Sami. He's going to have trouble getting the fans on his side. Cody Rhodes did not have a problem at all. And Roman beat Sami in a match that felt like it was done at the appropriate time, at the appropriate place, in hindsight. As odd as it sounds, it's possible, at least possible, that The Rock is in that Sami Zayn role. You know, there is a version of this where, as big as the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view was last year, that they want something that big to lead us in to the biggest show of the year. So maybe The Rock is in this spot, and maybe there's some drama between The Rock and Cody Rhodes. Maybe this is how we get to a place where we actually believe that Roman might lose. Maybe we start teasing what it would look like to have The Rock versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and we tease that The Rock might beat Roman Reigns so that Cody Rhodes can beat The Rock. Not to say that that would ever happen, but at least tease it so that there's some question as to whether Roman Reigns is going to win the match against The Rock or not. Possible. It's also possible, I think either way, The Rock's going to be in Australia. Is he going to be there to face Roman Reigns and be in that Sami Zayn role where he becomes a support to Cody Rhodes? Because he could still make a WrestleMania appearance, right? You could do Rock versus Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber. And as we go to WrestleMania, have The Rock in Cody Rhodes' corner against Roman Reigns with Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman. That's a thing that could happen, right? That Rock gets screwed out of the title at the Elimination Chamber, and that way you still have him at WrestleMania. I mean, let's call it what it is. There's an option here where it may not be that bad for Cody. If Roman Reigns beats The Rock at the Elimination Chamber and goes on to WrestleMania to face Cody, well, now Cody Rhodes is facing a Roman Reigns that has not only beaten everybody else, but has also beaten The Rock. But I don't know if it's going to happen. You could also reverse that, where you get The Rock at the Elimination Chamber, but it's a contract signing. It's a confrontation. You don't even have Roman defending the title at the Elimination Chamber because it's just the night that The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to be face-to-face confronting each other. And maybe that's enough. If that's going to be enough to get Australia excited, just seeing The Rock and Roman Reigns finally look each other in the eyeballs, then maybe you don't need it. Maybe that's enough, and then you go to WrestleMania to actually have the match. That's another option. What about Cody finishing the story, right? People go like this. Is the title necessary? Does The Rock versus Roman Reigns really need the title? Well, how would you get the title off of Roman Reigns? How about this? One thing you could do, theoretically, is that at the Royal Rumble, you don't have to have Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match. There's 3 contenders right now: LA Knight, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. What if something goes down in that triple threat and the Royal Rumble match becomes a fatal 4-way? What if all of those people end up challenging Roman Reigns? And what if in that fatal 4-way, Randy Orton pins LA Knight? Well, now the title reign of Roman Reigns has ended. Randy Orton has won the title. You haven't necessarily taken any losses. Like, Roman hasn't taken any losses, so he's still just as strong. And now you can go to WrestleMania with Roman Reigns versus The Rock and Cody Rhodes having to finish his story by beating Randy Orton. It could happen, although I think, number one, you'd be ending Roman's streak just for the sake of trying to have your cake and eat it too and shoehorn everything in. Number two, Cody versus Randy, while it would be amazing and it would be a great story, if Cody were to be triumphant over Randy, like, there's a good chance that ain't the main event of the show. There's a good chance that night 1 is Punk and Rollins, and night 2 is Roman and Rock without a title. And number 3, do you need the championship for Roman Reigns versus The Rock? No, you don't need it. But the idea of this is that Roman Reigns is the head of the table. The head of the table has a double meaning. The head of the table means the guy who's in charge of the family, sets the rules, and makes sure the whole family eats. But also the head of the table in the sense that he is the supreme being in the WWE. He is allowed to be the head of the table, the tribal chief of the Samoan dynasty, because he is the end-all, be-all in the WWE, the way his predecessors were before him. So if he's not the champion, and he's no longer the end-all, be-all, then he's not really the tribal chief. And then if The Rock beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, well, The Rock just beat Roman Reigns, and now he's going away. So this whole buildup has been to The Rock being the one to beat Roman Reigns. And if Roman Reigns beats The Rock, he's not the tribal chief anyway, because he lost the belt. And are you going to main event WrestleMania with Roman, who lost the belt, pinning The Rock? It makes no sense to me. I'm saying that is a path that could get you there, but I don't like it. I think that what I don't think you can do is something that I remember talking about this last year, We talked about this idea that you could do Rock versus Roman night 1 and the winner faces Cody on night 2. I just don't think you can do it. If you do that, Cody is beating a wounded man. And if you do that, there's nothing that you could do. Cody can main event night 2 of WrestleMania, but ultimately, the biggest match on the show is always going to be that first one. Rock versus Roman is always going to be the biggest match. And that's why, to me, I mean, today as I speak to you, as hard as it is for Cody Rhodes fans to understand, and trust me, I get it. I don't sit here and tell you Roman Reigns ain't losing that belt because I don't like Cody Rhodes. It has nothing to do with that. I'm looking at facts. I'm not speaking from a place of like, what do I want to happen? What does my fandom say? I'm just looking at what's in front of us on the table that Roman is the head of. And I don't see logically right now where Roman doesn't leave WrestleMania as the champion. Furthermore, you just have to look at what happened on Monday Night Raw and understand that there is no bigger match for the WWE than The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And you can try to shoehorn as much as you can shoehorn in to make sure that Cody can finish the story, but ultimately, what do you want at WrestleMania? You want the biggest match humanly possible. And if you've got CM Punk versus Seth Rollins on night 1 and The Rock versus Roman Reigns on night 2, and your goal is eyeballs and exposing the most people you possibly can to WrestleMania, thereby having the biggest money-making WrestleMania of all time, you watch these press conferences with me. What does Triple H say every time he puts on those glasses? Well, we had the highest grossing night that we've had here since, well, ever. It's a highest grossing Survivor Series. That was the highest grossing Royal Rumble. What graphic did they put up at the end of the year? Highest grossing, highest grossing, highest grossing. WWE creatively is in a better space than maybe I've ever seen them, quite frankly, in terms of telling cohesive stories and making things make sense and making it okay. If you are looking to put on the highest grossing WrestleMania of all time, Rollins and Punk and Rock versus Roman are your main events. And whether that means Cody finishes his story at SummerSlam, whether that means Cody has to wait another year, whether that means it's time for a new story to develop, whether that means Randy Orton turns heel and we still have a Cody versus Randy match. Whatever we have to do, we kind of have to do. Cody Rhodes is a remarkable performer and one of the best superstars in the WWE. It's hard to imagine that somebody could make being a clean-cut babyface so cool as Cody Rhodes has done and continues to do. It's hard to imagine that anybody but Cody Rhodes could go through what he went through at WrestleMania 39, and as we sit here almost a year later, be even stronger. I don't think anybody else could pull that off. I have no doubt that Cody will have a giant match at WrestleMania. I have no doubt that Cody would tell an amazing story at WrestleMania, and I have no doubt that it will lead to an even bigger story for Cody coming off of WrestleMania 40. But if it's as simple as how do we make the choice that results in the biggest show possible, you send The Rock to Australia to go face-to-face with Roman Reigns for the very first time. And then you go to WrestleMania with The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And I believe that if done properly by the time you get there, Philadelphia will be losing their minds seeing something that truly is bigger than, almost any WrestleMania match ever. I'm opening myself up. You can let me know what you think. There's YouTube comments open. There's my Twitter and Instagram. Everything's open. Comment all you want. And I understand. But it is what it is. And as wrestling fans, how lucky are we that we are staring down the barrel of another WrestleMania where we are at each other's throats arguing because there are so many good options for WrestleMania main events. I can't wait to see where this goes, whether The Rock is facing Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber or whether The Rock and Roman Reigns are having the biggest match that WWE could conceivably put on at WrestleMania 40. I'll be watching, and I'll be talking about it right here on Notsam Wrestling. Don't forget, we got a live show coming up January 26th, the day before the Royal Rumble. That's 5 p.m. It's in Tampa, Florida, SideSplitters Comedy Club. Be there. Join me. I'll have guests. It'll be awesome. You can go to notsamlive.com and make sure you're subscribed to the podcast feed and the YouTube channel. Big interview coming up this week. I can't wait for it. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.